NTHU, and I'll be interviewing you, Professor Chen. And for those of you seeing this video, Professor Chen is the Dean of NYU Shanghai, in Shanghai, right? NYU is New York University?
Yeah, New York University, Shanghai.
In Shanghai.
In Shanghai.
Okay. May I know how long have you been working there and then becoming a dean?
Yes, I started work there since the beginning of our Shanghai campus, which was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, so I became the Dean of Business 2015.
Since 2015,
Yeah.
up until now.
Right.
Okay, so you
Right now.
we can say that you built NYU Shanghai.
Not really, like because NYU Shanghai is a university, we have many different majors. We have Dean of Arts and Science, we have Dean of Computer Science, Data Science, and Engineering. So we're just like one out of the 3 different divisions. We have other 2 divisions.
Okay, so actually, this interview, we just want to know you better.
Sure.
And then of course, we would like to also, hopefully, by knowing you better, it could also encourage our viewers, our students, either NTHU students or maybe another students from another university, to encourage them about how to work maybe as academia, or maybe if they have some challenges as an academia, as a researcher. So this interview will talk about those kind of stuff.
It would be my pleasure.
Yes,
Thank you.
And I would like to also let you know that this interview outcome will also be posted in our website and also our videos and the social media. Okay, so so you already told us that you were in NYU Shanghai since 2013, since it was built, right? But actually, I read from your profile, I read that your bachelor actually came from, you were from Fudan University, and you studied physics.
Yes.
Okay, physics, and then after that you continue study computer science.
Right.
And now you are in the field of marketing.
Right.
Okay, so there's some difference. Could you please go through back from there, and then how did you decide it?
Yeah, so I think it's a kind of long story, and to put it short. So ever since like my high school or middle school years, actually I was very interested in liberal arts. Yeah, but then my parents would like me to study like STEM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why because that time in China, by the time of high school, you had to choose whether you want to go with the STEM direction or liberal arts direction. So I had to choose the STEM direction, and then that's why I went to like Fudan University for physics major. But I always really liked the liberal arts. So after physics, I got a chance to apply for other major, but also within STEM. So I saw that computer science was a little bit more like towards liberal arts compared to physics.
So it's more like gradually.
Yeah, then I got a chance to study in the US, so I took that chance to apply for marketing PhD program, because I think marketing actually is really good, because you have to use both the knowledge in liberal arts and also like mathematics, science to apply to that field. So it's a good combination for my background and my interest.
So may I know, when you were doing the bachelor study, did you, of course you already have the interest into the liberal arts, but when you were doing bachelor study, was it like directly you decided to do the master, or you had like some professional experience first, or how is it?
It's all kind of little bit random, right? Because when I was in bachelor's degree, actually I had very little idea about what I would do after graduation. But by the time of my graduation, I applied for the job positions, but also applied for graduate school. But then that time, Zhejiang University had a reform, so which means like you could actually take the exam in physics but apply for other majors within the STEM.
Oh, okay.
So they define STEM as a kind of broad area. So that was the only university at that time allowed that.
Okay.
So that's why just grab the chance and switch to computer
To
science.
switch a little bit to
Right.
computer science,
Yeah.
and then after computer science, you graduate computer science, and then you directly continue.
Right. So actually, I didn't finish my degree. That's why on my CV I said I studied in the program for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the program was for 2.5 years.
Mm.
Because then in the middle of my graduate study, I got the opportunity to apply for the schools in the U.S.
In the U.S.
That's why after I got admitted, I decided not to finish my master's degree. So I just went to
okay.
U.S.
Okay, so in the U.S. you were doing marketing.
Right.
Yeah, marketing,
Right.
and then marketing yeah, as a master and directly as a PhD as well.
Yeah, actually, it's for PhD.
Oh, for
But
PhD.
yeah, for PhD. But the policy there in the U.S. is that once you pass the qualification exam for the PhD program, automatically they give you a master's degree. So I didn't really study in the master's degree program.
Oh, okay.
I studied for the PhD, but after you pass the PhD qualified exam, they give you the master's degree.
Okay, okay. And then you also focusing on business analytics, am I right? When you were doing the PhD.
Yeah, so
Correct.
more precisely, it's not, at that time it's not really called like business analytics. So I should say it's like a quantitative marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically applying like, mathematics, statistics, econometrics, those kind of big data techniques to solve marketing problem. So officially it's called like quantitative marketing.
Oh, may I know what year was it?
Yeah, so I got my PhD 1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Business analytics weren't really a thing at the
Right,
time,
yeah,
right?
there was no such term that time.
There's no such term yet.
Right.
Okay, so you're quantitative, yeah.
Yeah, quantitative marketing.
Quantitative marketing. Okay, so okay, so back again.
Right.
You had experiences both worlds, I must say,
Sure.
yeah, because now it's very like one is STEM
Right,
science,
right.
and then the other one is liberal arts or social science,
Right,
right?
right.
Did you feel any differences academically or maybe in terms of networking and everything? What kind of differences that you?
Yeah, so I think both of them are like science, right? You have to really apply rigorous method to solve the problem. If you want me to mention any difference, I think the key difference is that for social science, especially for business, you have to really pay attention to what happens currently in outside the world. Right? For example, I read Wall Street Journal every day. Right? You have to keep yourself current with all those things happening.
Okay.
But for science, maybe it's not so necessary. Right? You need to follow the literature, follow the research progress, but you don't really need to pay so much attention to the world news, business news, the social phenomenon.
Okay. Because in social science, everything's evolving.
Yes.
And yeah, that means you have to keep update.
Yeah, just like in marketing, when we're talking about great brand this time, but after 10 years, that brand probably will be gone.
That is true. That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. But how did you keep updating yourself with these knowledges? Of course, we have to read a lot of literatures, of course, journals, updated journals, articles. What else do you think?
Yeah, just keep a very broad interest and also talk to people
Talk to people.
Yeah, in the business world. And a lot of those people actually are my former students because after you've been in this profession for many years, you have your previous students from MBA and the area now they become like the senior managers in many companies. So you just talk to them, also you learn a lot.
Ah, okay. So how did you create the situation where you can always update or network with them?
Yeah, so I think when it's like I mentioned, you pay attention to the social media, to the media, and so on. And but then there's a good network effect because once you become very knowledgeable or updated about what's happening, so other people also like to talk to you because they can also learn something from you. Then you learn something from them, and then you get more knowledge, more information, then more people approach you to talk to you. So in that way, you have a positive externality in some sense,
Okay.
the network effect. Yeah.
But as a start, do you think that we have to always like proactively nudging people, asking about, hey, what do you think about this issue? Or
Right.
What
Yeah.
was your approach?
Yeah, I think this is important.
Mhm.
But before that, I think more important thing is like it'd be a good idea you build some expertise yourself.
Build expertise
Yeah.
yourself? Okay.
Yeah, so let's say you are familiar with a particular area, like you get a lot of information from that area, but then you will provide value to others, right? So if you don't provide value to others, only like try to bother others to ask more information, that may not work.
Yeah.
But at least they know you are the expert, you are knowledgeable
see.
in one certain area, so you
Okay.
can kind of mutually benefit each other.
Mutually benefit. Okay, so you build your expertise first,
Yeah.
rather than nudging people
Right,
over,
right.
like asking about, what do you think about
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, it's like build expertise first, then kind of network with people, then that help you to build more expertise, then you can network with more people.
Okay. So in terms of academic, of course,
Right.
we have to, if we want to build our expertise, that
Right.
means such as like we publish in journals, academic
Right,
journals,
right.
or what else do you think?
Yeah, I think one is to publish in the academic journals, other is just to read a lot of these publications.
Real
Try to understand what are the state of art
Mhm.
in the area.
Mhm.
And also just read like media articles and so on,
Mhm.
because a lot of people if they are not specialized in particular field, they may not have this kind of time, right, to get so deep into one particular area.
Mhm.
So if you spend time reading in that area, you can really can build up your expertise and also benefit others when you network with them.
Okay. Okay, so I want to go back a little bit about
Sure.
your PhD experience,
Yes.
which was in Washington University.
It's Washington St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah, in St. Louis.
In St.
Yeah,
Louis.
in St.
Uh-huh.
Louis. So during that time, what did you learn the most? What can you?
Yeah.
What did you learn the most?
I think the thing I really learned a lot is like doing research is quite different from like kind of doing like a coursework and try to get a high grade in a particular course, because that really requires a lot of creativity and like provocative thinking, like yeah. So and also like doing things independently. It's quite different from taking classes in
Taking
college.
classes, yeah,
Yeah.
because in taking classes you just need to listen to what lecturers
Exactly.
say,
Yeah.
professor said, and then do all the assignments.
Right.
But when you're doing your own research,
Right.
You have to be proactively
Yes.
provoking your own thoughts.
Right. And then you basically also you have to really manage your time well,
Mhm.
because in the U.S. like for the PhD program, after the second year there's no coursework, so basically
Mhm.
you can be there like, doing nothing for 3 years, right? Yeah, you have to basically find out things to do and then try to manage your time well. Yeah.
Okay, manage your time well, and then manage your research timings and everything.
Right.
Okay. So, is there anything different that you felt? Let's say, of course, your PhD was in the U.S., but
Right.
if you can compare it, maybe, what kind of benefits that is different if you're studying there and maybe studying somewhere else?
Yeah, so I think
Is there something different?
yeah, so I think the really good thing for the U.S. education I benefit from is the kind of flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yeah, so for example, like in many other places, to get a PhD degree, you have to publish something in order to get a degree, right?
Yes.
And in U.S. that is not required. So
It's not required.
it's not required. Yeah,
Even
yeah.
up to now.
Even now, yeah.
Uh,
So basically, you don't need to publish anything, but as long as like you have a working paper,
working.
which is very good, then you can still find a very good academic job.
Okay.
So they actually give you all this flexibility or freedom.
Mhm.
So there's nothing really mandated. Like say you have to publish 3 papers at certain-
Usually.
on the list of certain journals.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Usually it's like that, right?
Yeah, but that's not true in the U.S. Yeah, so I didn't publish anything before I graduated. But then, within 2 years of my graduation, I published like 5 papers at the Marketing Science, the top journal in the area. Yeah, but I think, if I was in other places, I might not be able to enjoy this kind of luxury. Like people will say, like at job market, you're not doing well. Right? But that was not the case in the US. Yeah.
Okay.
You actually put more emphasis on your potential and your future research, kind of, potential future research, kind of, output.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that you weren't productive at all, right?
Right, that doesn't mean
you're
that.
doing the PhD. It's not like you're not doing anything, right? Yeah.
Because the publishing, time required for top journal now in the US is very long.
It's very long.
Yeah, if you can get a paper published after you finish that, within 3 years, that is supposed to be very quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why they allow you, to give you this, time that you to work out things. So instead of sending the papers to some second-tier journal, they give you time, let you to do that better, target at top journals.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you have to have your own target when you're doing the PhD, and then you also need to. Of course, time management is really important. It's very important, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So so now you are a dean of business and distinguished global professor of business at NYU Shanghai, right? And then I believe your research interests area in the areas of data-driven marketing, internet marketing. So can you tell us a little bit about this? Can you explain a little bit what is this?
Yeah, so now if you think about marketing, right, the one really important phenomenon is the e-commerce, right? So the online platform, or those are my research area. And in terms of data-driven marketing, that is even broader, because even for the traditional the retailers, let's say the supermarkets, department store, they also use a lot of data. Yeah, so basically, the things I'm doing is to apply, some big data techniques or econometrics, statistics, to solve some market problem. Basically, using the data from the real world and to address the marketing issues. So that is data-driven marketing I'm doing, and the digital marketing is more all those things happen online. That's very big. Yeah. I think that is also due to my background in computer science. Even though I only spent 2 years in the computer science master's degree program, that actually had a lot of impact on me. So that made me to pay more attention to what happened, in that part of the marketing, the online marketing, digital marketing, e-commerce.
But this interest is actually built up, right? Because you finished your PhD in 1999.
Right, yes.
Yeah, 1999. At that time, internet marketing wasn't really as big as now.
Yeah, that time actually, my dissertation is really about database marketing.
Database.
Yeah, that started at that time in the U.S. Basically, a lot of companies that time they had, for example, loyalty program. They built a consumer database, right? Yeah. So I think that was the early kind of format of digital marketing in some sense, right? Because you use data, you analyze individual preference.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what, so my early research during my PhD was all about this type of phenomenon.
And then gradually, because of course the world is evolving, and you are okay. So this is it. This is my focus, the research interest right now. Okay. So do you think that it's all right if we are, as a researcher, as an academician, we, for now, maybe 2-3 years ago, we have a different research interest, and then suddenly now, maybe for me, let's say, let's say I want to switch from A to B. Is it okay if I do that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think and also probably it's necessary in some sense, because after you get your PhD, like your academic career, actually it's pretty long from your PhD to retirement, right? So I think the society changes, business world changes, so you should really keep up with the change. If, for example, I'm also doing something kind of different, related but kind of different. For example, like one of my recent paper, we look at like the gender discrimination, among the boys and girls, but the data is actually e-commerce data. We have the data about like online e-commerce company selling like clothes to boys and girls, and then we look at for parents living in different regions in China, like if they have any kind of preference for the boy versus girl, right? So you can see the topic is kind of related to some social issue.
Social issue,
yeah.
Yes.
But still there's connection with what I was doing before, because there's e-commerce data, right? You applying like the data analysis, method and so on. Yeah. So I think that's the way you kind of gradually like I should not say like switch your interest, but it's like broaden your interest. I would say.
Broaden, not switch. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's the key word, right? Yeah, so broaden your interest.
Right.
So there must be a little bit of connection with what you were doing before.
Right.
So that it gradually or smoothly broaden your interest.
Right.
Okay. So you mentioned that now you also interested in this kind of social issue like gender differences or gender discrimination.
Right. Or bias or whatever.
Bias, gender bias. Okay. Can you tell a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So one research I mentioned it just the one.
The one that you just mentioned.
Yeah, just mentioned, and also like So. But the social issues are very broad, not just like the gender bias and the things. Other project I'm doing actually is more like theoretical work. Yeah, so we're looking at how like the commerce and the culture may interact with each other. So that is about how companies may, when they enter the foreign market, how they position their product by adjusting to the local culture. But on the other hand, like the commerce may affect culture. Right? They may do cultural promotion. They may sponsor cultural events to influence consumer, right, to adapt to their product. So that type of thing is also more broad, like kind of has a marketing, but also has some social implication.
I see. Oh, that's really interesting. Are you doing this research only locally in China, or also plan to broad the research to?
Yeah, so I think all like good research should be applicable like universally.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never like thought about like just the research in a particular region. Yeah. So like, and also my co-authors are all around the world. So So I think all those things actually should be applicable to different situations. And the data we use, like sometimes the data are from China, sometimes the data are from US. We use all kind of, and also I work with co-authors in Korea, for example. We actually use the data from Korea, different regions.
So you must have had extensive research experiences with people from other countries, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How does it feel?
Yeah, so you just like over time, like you just know those people from conference, from different, and sometimes like you give a talk in a university. Then you meet
like
people.
Now.
Like you meet people, then you start to develop some research, and that's how like things start to work.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I have like co-authors like in many different places in the U.S., like Korea and China, of course, and also like UK, different places.
Okay. Do you feel any any challenges that you had when you were working with people from different countries in terms of academic research?
Yeah, so I think nowadays it's okay. Of course, like, it's better to kind of meet in person. Usually, it's more efficient or effective. But due to COVID, we had to meet just over Zoom, and that kind of is a challenge, right? Especially given the time difference.
So how did you cope with all those challenges, the time differences, cultural differences, of course?
Yeah.
So
I think overall, like you just get used to that. Yeah. So you know, I think the key thing is like, because we're in marketing. So marketing, good thing about marketing that we just try to understand people, right? That's the key. That's the key thing in marketing, right? You understand the consumer, and but then you apply that same logic. You just try to understand people. So if you understand your collaborators well, and then I don't think culture is really a issue. And of course, then we just accommodate each other. Like sometimes I make phone calls very late in the night. Sometimes they make phone calls very early in the morning. So we actually work out very well. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the one of the keywords is that you want to try to understand people.
Yes.
So that's why you have to
Right.
apply the same logic
Right.
to your colleagues or whomever that you encounter when
Exactly.
you're doing your work.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there another thing that you have to always, let's say, when you're working, when you're doing your research, what kind of mindset that you set in your head, other than, of course, as a marketing
Right.
person? Yeah.
I think the important thing is like why I work at research. Usually I don't really think about like when and how to publish the paper. Because
You don't really think
Yeah, I
about
don't really
when
think about
and how to publish the paper.
Yeah, I think that more important thing, I always feel like just like purely for knowledge purpose why you work on the paper. I think just for your curiosity for solving the problem. Yeah, just make it, it's like a scientific, investigation. So yeah, I think that is very important. Don't be disrupted or bothered by the payoff of the research. It's more like purely think about research as research per se. I think that's the.
Why? Isn't it good? Let's say, isn't it good that I want to publish this paper
Right.
at least end of this year? Isn't it?
Yeah, I personally I don't really like that because I think important thing is the research itself, right? If you set a goal like publish this paper end of this year, you may cut the corners, right? Just try to make it quick, right? But it's better just to make it perfect. So that's always
So quality over the. Can I say quantity?
Is quality over the speed.
Over the speed. Yeah.
Over that.
So quality is always on top, right?
Yeah,
The quality. So you
Right.
don't really.
Right.
Of course, you have to manage your time as
Right.
always, but
Right.
still, you don't. It's not your end goal. The
Right.
end goal is to expand the knowledge.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, but when of course you have an extensive research experiences,
Right.
right? As an academician, have you ever felt stuck, or maybe encountered a very challenging situation when you are trying to finish your research?
Oh yeah, so that happens.
Yeah, that happens over.
Yeah, so I think the key thing, the key challenge is one is the time management, and other one is kind of related. Other one is how do you deal with negative feedback. But sometimes you submit a paper, you think that's really good, but then you get a review report. Once actually I got a review report, which was one report was 14 pages long, single space.
Okay.
Then you feel really frustrated. How may I revise it, right? So that kind of thing. But I think the important thing is just just think about research itself. Don't really think about the outcome or the payoff too much. Just think about research itself. So that actually really helped. So for example, one difficult decision one had to make, actually I made this type of decision before. It's if you spend a lot of time on a project, but then later on you found it was not so good, then what do you do with that? So you should not be affected by the sunk cost. Sometimes just abandon it, even after you spend 5 years on it. But that was really challenging. Emotionally, that was kind of difficult. But I think that is necessary. Or sometimes you feel it's really good paper, you really want to show people this is the way of doing things. Even with a very harsh review report, you still should be very patient and try to reply them carefully. And so one of my paper got the pretty good citation later, but initially I got a lot of this very, very complicated and tedious comments. Yeah, so I remember I wrote like a response letter with like 50 pages long.
What? Response 50 pages?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but yes, they try to persuade the reviewers. Yeah, but that worked in the end. Yeah, so
Okay.
this kind of challenge, I think, we are kind of we kind of face every day. So all like it's very common. So we have to get used to that. So,
So, what is it? Can you tell us? Let's say, because when you get the harsh review,
right.
it hurts you.
Yeah.
Sometimes do you think it hurts you, or how do you cope with that?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So
Yeah.
many people actually ask me about that.
Yeah.
So honestly speaking, I never got hurt
Mhm.
by that because like I mentioned before, I always feel like when you're doing research, you just want to have your mindset on the research per se, right?
Mhm.
Don't think about the other things.
Mhm.
So usually I take that as like as if like I was discussing this with that reviewer, right? So I always try to find something kind of helpful and valuable from that comment.
Okay.
Instead of like take that personally, I just will say, okay, if there's anything good about it, or if there's something not right from the review, I just try to persuade them. Right? So instead of like feel very emotionally about
Emotionally
that,
hurt,
yeah, because research is just research. Nothing is
Yeah.
really personal. So I never take that personally.
Okay. So that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't take it personally.
Yeah, don't take that personally. I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Because it's for the research itself. It's not for you as a
Right,
person.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's really important for us. Either we are still students here, so
Yeah.
because sometimes we got stuck just because of that.
Right.
Sometimes we get stuck because of that because people say, "Oh, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. You have to do A, B, C instead of
Right.
D, F." Right.
Right.
So just don't take it personally.
Right.
Okay.
Because I've been reviewer, being like associate editor, being like a senior editor. I've also written all kinds of comments.
Yes.
I even reject others' paper,
Mhm.
but again, I also did not take personally why I did that. Yeah, just on the research per se. I see.
Okay, cool. That's really cool. Yes, I think that's what's really important, especially if,
Right.
for those of you who are PhD students.
Yes, yes.
PhD students, just don't take it personally.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So okay, I would like to also know more about your career choice as an academician.
Right.
What makes you finally decided? Why don't you? Because marketing, it's
Right.
really it's a practical or commercial
Right,
world,
right.
right? After you finish your, let's say, PhD, your study,
Right.
but why didn't you work in a company as a consultant or whatever? So, what was the thinking process of it?
Yeah. So, yeah, because there's many factors. One I think was the family influence. Because my parents, both of them were like academic researchers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so ever since I was a child, I got like witness what kind of life a researcher would have. So in some sense, I was familiar with that.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think I always like to get something new because I'm a very curious person. I would like to know something different and new. I think the good thing about academic job is that you can always do something different. Like your next project will be different from your current project. You always, and you can also have the freedom to choose the research topic, right? So you can always kind of explore something novel, different. But in company, and you probably in many cases you have to repeat a lot of things you have done before. And also, personally, I don't really like I mentioned to you, I don't like things with a very tight deadline. Like I have to publish a paper end of the year. But as a consultant, actually I've done consulting in those times before.
Okay.
But as a consultant and you're working on a company, now you have those deadlines.
Yeah.
You have to do this by this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really like that kind of things. That's why I feel like academic life is better for me.
Academic life is better. So you, right away after the PhD, you
Right.
decided to
Right.
continue as
Right.
an academician,
Right.
At that time in Washington University, and then did you get a chance to go back first to your home country, or you you continue
Yeah.
your career.
Yeah, I just continue my career. Right after my PhD, I got a job at the Stern School of Business at NYU.
Oh, okay. Stern Business School at NYU. But I also read that you were also teaching you were also taught in Kellogg.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so I got tenure at NYU, but then I in 2009 I moved to Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. But then 2013 I went back to NYU, but in Shanghai campus. So it's kind of
okay, all right, okay, cool. So we talk about what you like about
Right.
working as an academia,
right.
but can you share us a little bit about the disadvantage maybe, or something like a little bit that you feel that it's not right in an academia world compared to professional world? Because in professional you say that, oh yeah, there's a lot of tight deadlines and everything.
Right.
Yeah. But in academia world, what is it that you think that is something negative that people need to be aware and cautious?
Yeah, so I think, because I really enjoy academic career. It's pretty hard for me to find anything negative. Yeah, but if you really want to say anything about that, I think it's really so you basically need to have a pretty strong willpower.
Strong willpower.
Yeah, to believe in what you are doing, right? So, because I'm quite lucky, so I published papers very quickly, after my graduation and so on. I got tenure also very quick. But oftentimes, in academic work, right? So some people may get stuck in their research. So for example, we may not be able to publish a paper in 5 years. Right?
Okay.
That happened.
Yes.
But
that happens.
yeah, so if that happened, then you have to believe in yourself, right? So because I know many friends, now they are very famous professors, but at the early stage of their career, they had for them a period of 5 years without any publication. That happened, but then later on they got a great achievement. So that's something very different from professional work. But in academic work, the payoff, the return, oftentimes come very late. Yeah, after a couple of years, the one project you have to probably spend 5 years, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But so you don't really get a short-term award, short-term reward, for your effort. So that could be a negative part, right? Because oftentimes people get motivated because they see the short-term reward. But if you don't see short-term reward, you still have to keep going. That is the difficult part.
Yeah. Because sometimes people are
Right.
they feel just want to stop.
Yeah, because you don't feel accomplish anything, right? Because in a professional world, you finish something, you got some KPI, you got sales,
projects, KPI, quarter after quarter,
right?
and
That's
then
it. You see
move
something.
on.
Yeah, you see something concrete.
Yeah.
But in research, you may start a project, after 5 years still haven't published, and then sometimes you like it, other people don't like it.
Yeah.
But you still have to believe in that.
I see.
That is the challenge, I would say.
Okay, so that's the negative challenge, but the way to overcome it is by strong will. The strong willpower.
Strong willpower and a strong interest. You have to be self-motivated.
Self-motivated all the time.
All the time.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because oftentimes you don't see immediate return from your effort.
Okay. So that's about choosing the career, and I also would like to know, because now we live in we can say that it's a globalized world, right? And then, what is your takes on those who want to take or want to pursue international career path? Because what you were doing, you did it after you graduated your PhD, which was in US.
Right.
But how about those who are still in their home country, but they want to pursue international career path as an academician?
Right. So I really encourage people to do that. I think it's very important to learn from different culture, to learn from different people. I think that for academic research, the idea is very important, right? Different people from different culture, the different way of thinking oftentimes can inspire some new ideas. Right? So that's why I think it's very good and important. So and also now it's much easier, right, to study abroad and work in different country. For example, you may study in the U.S., but then later on, I call also other friends, then later on they work in Europe and or in Australia, in Hong Kong, different places, right? Yeah. So I think that, and also people grew up and studied in U.S., they also worked in Asia. For example, in NYU Shanghai, more than half of our faculty are not Chinese. Yeah, so we're a very global place.
I see.
And that's why I really like that place. Half our students are not Chinese, and half our faculty are not Chinese. So very global, very diversified community. So I think that is the way to go.
That's one way to go.
Yeah.
But for those who are always, let's say, study in their home country,
Right.
and they're thinking that, okay, I need to expand
Right.
my network.
Yes.
How to do that?
Yeah, so I think there will be a couple ways. One is I know many universities have this exchange program.
Okay.
You can be an exchange student or visiting student in other country, for a semester or for a year. Other way to mingle with others, researchers, is to go to those international conference. Yeah, because there are many of those conferences.
Yeah.
Probably too many of those conferences now. So, yeah, and then but the conference is not for sightseeing. So you basically have to go there, present something, and try to, and also participate in those seminars, because in many of those conferences you have a session with multiple papers presented. So you can actually ask questions and give comments, and that's another way for you to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that we have to always come prepared to this kind of events, conference, and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
We have to come prepared with what is it that we want to show people, and then
Yeah.
connect with them.
Yeah. So I think beyond that, it's you have to be really interested in that topic, right? Because if you're interested in it, you will spend time, and you're willing to spend time to read the literature around that.
Yes.
Then, given that it will be easier for you to ask questions, give comments, and then also people may find out you are so knowledgeable in that area, so they may like to collaborate with you later.
Okay. So two things: you have to be prepared, and you also have to, can I say, proactively
Right.
approach.
Yeah. So
people.
yeah. So and then, like I mentioned, more important, you have to like it.
You have to like it. Yes.
I think that's more important.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, if you don't like it,
Right.
that's gonna be difficult, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So okay, because this is my personal question.
Sure.
Because I come from developing countries.
I see.
I'm Indonesian. So do you think there are also any open opportunities for us coming from developing countries
Right.
to pursue international career path?
Yeah. I think that there's no problem. So why I actually started my PhD program in the U.S. and China was really poor, right? So I think at that time, if I stayed in China, the monthly salary was $20, something like that. Yeah, because yeah. So, but I think the good thing is most of those places, all the U.S. PhD program, as far as I know, they give scholarship, they give you stipend, yeah. So you don't need to worry about your living there. Yes, you can just focus on your research. Yeah, so I think there are so many those universities around in the world. So I think all the talent young people like you should take advantage of that, and if you like to pursue your academic career.
You just have to have the strong will and then
Right.
proactively, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
of course you have to like the topic
Right.
itself, right?
Yes, I remember when I applied for my PhD program in the U.S. at that time was before email.
That is true.
Yeah, yeah, you had to write letters to those people and apply. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That means you have a really strong will at the time
Right,
to
right.
do it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Okay, I would like to know a little bit again
Sure.
about your current research interest because it's about data-driven marketing, internet marketing,
right.
but also related to the retail,
Right.
right? And for now, you were also touching a little bit about social issue.
Right.
How did you manage to change it a little bit into that, and then how's it going right now, your research?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of doing things along this line. Basically, I think a lot of research questions are from the current events that happen in the business world, like what kind of question issues people are interested in, what are important issues they are talking about, and also from the collaborations with company and so on. Yeah, so the research I'm going to present here, the very current one is under review at the journal. This is about the impact of the individual data or personalization on the search. Right? Because a lot of e-commerce companies and retail platform, they will when you search on them, right? So they will return the list of product based on their understanding about you, right?
Okay.
Some yes, they may actually use your personal information, for example, your loyalty program member and your previous purchase and so on. But now with the privacy regulation, right?
Yes.
So this type of use of personal information might be restricted, right, in the future. So we actually did some experiment, field experiment to show what's the impact to consumer search. Basically you have two groups of consumers, and control group is things as usual, we use personal information in the search result, right? You kind of recommend search product to them. Other group we disabled the use the use of personal information, right? Personalization. Then we make a comparison, and that actually can inform the company and also the regulators about the potential impact. Of course, there's a benefit, but also there's a cost. Right? Benefit is you may use less personal information. That's probably better for privacy, protection. But the drawback and the cost is the product you provide as a search result may not be so relevant to the consumers.
I see.
Yeah. So then they may have to spend more time search, right? And in the end, they may not be able to find a matched product to their preference, right? So we did.
Oh, okay. So now this research is still ongoing.
As ongoing, it's under review.
Oh,
It's finished and review at the journal. We don't know the outcome yet.
We will see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. So this is an experiment research.
Yeah, but it's a field experiment. It's an
Field
experiment
experiment.
done by the company.
Oh, but done by the company.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
not
you
in the lab.
So you collaborate with
Right,
companies.
right.
Like something like e-commerce companies.
Right.
Okay. What was your experience on working with the collaborators, external collaborators?
Yeah, so I think it's also good, right? You learn a lot of so-called institutional details, right? So usually you don't really learn from the textbook, you don't really learn from the papers.
Yes.
And also it's good you learn something about what they care about.
I see.
Yeah, so I think that is good. And and also collaborating with companies not only benefit your research, also benefit your teaching. Because when you teach students, right, those are the kind of first-hand knowledge you can share with students. I think that's also very good.
Okay. So all this time, you're not only working with only other academic colleagues, but you also work with practitioners.
Yeah. Because you have to, because marketing is really a practical
Yes.
kind of subject.
Okay. So over the time, you always try to combine your research experiences, collaborating not only with internally from with academias, but also with the practitioners, and that's really important.
Yes.
Okay. But do you think that it has a very challenging situations when you're working in general, because you had extensive research experiences before?
Yes, so I should not say like challenging, but I think you have to, basically understand, the need of the practitioners,
Yes.
your collaborators in the industry world. So, and also try to make a balance, right? Because usually for researcher, like, we try to look at something very novel, not solved, and very new, right?
Yes.
But then, the cycle is very long, so it probably take a couple of years, right, to get published, and then the thing you did may not be immediately useful for the company. Right?
Yes.
But then on the other hand, usually for the company, like, they also like to get something with immediate return, right? Something they very visible, they can see the outcome very quickly.
Yes.
But oftentimes these type of things may not be so new for research purpose. So that's why usually you will do something for the company just for their purpose.
Yes.
But then on the other hand, you also do something for your own, which takes long time.
Okay.
So that's the.
So
Basically, you do something satisfy the company, and also you do something satisfy yourself, like for
so you
research.
balance out. You balance
you have
out,
to do that.
Yeah. You balance out your own project. Like,
Right.
Okay, so this is for the companies, and then this is for the.
Yeah, but it's not really own project. That's also for the company. Basically, just like your own project may benefit the company in the long run, in 5 years.
Yes.
But also you need to deliver something to the company,
That is
which
true.
they can use like in 3 months. Right? So that's the.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So just needs to adapt.
Yeah,
highly adapting
right,
your
right.
own research
Right.
with the needs from these practitioners,
Right, right.
and also your own, because you also have your own
Right.
goals,
Yeah.
right, as a
Yeah.
researcher.
Yeah, but like I emphasize, my own research will also benefit the company
Yes.
in the long run, because otherwise the research is not important and useful, right?
Correct.
Because what we do in the end is also trying to benefit the professional.
Okay, that's really cool. Okay, so now it's almost end of our interview, but I would like to ask, because lots of us are still master or maybe PhD students, or maybe even bachelor students,
Right.
to improve our qualifications in case we want to pursue career as academicians. What do you think we should do other than maybe going to conferences? Of course, pursue international study experience, maybe. So what else do you think that we should do?
Yeah, so my own advice, I often tell my own student about that. I think, besides like the work for your major
Yes.
and for your area, I think the 3 things are very important, and especially for people who like to pursue academic career, or even for like going to the companies.
Yes.
I think one is like the writing skill, because if you have to write a paper, the company also to write a memo, all those things.
Yes.
So even though now we have the GPT, still I think but still I think writing is very important, because I found like for a lot of people, the one major obstacle for publication is writing.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a good writer, so that something important. Other thing I think is the computer skill, because you have to be able to use computer, like be familiar with programming, or like at least like use different software. Now like with GPT also, I actually encourage my students to use GPT, because I think that's the future. But to be an expert on GPT, still you need to learn, right?
You need to learn,
how to prompt the GPT, right? For
Okay.
example, that's a skill. So it's basically computing skill, writing skill, and the third one is like I think for not all, but for most of the academic research, even for social science now, some mathematical skill is important, right? Like studying more math, I think is always helpful.
Oh, okay.
Because even for social science now, the trend is moving towards like using big data, right?
Yes, correct.
So I think those are the 3 basic skills, like
3 basic skills. Other than, of course, the
Other
other
than your
things,
coursework,
yes, your personal, you have to
Right,
be.
right,
We
right.
already talked about it. Strong will all the
Right,
time,
right.
and then
Yeah.
the others is you network yourself still,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
With all academic events or
Right.
conferences or networking events.
Right.
Do you think that's important as well?
Yeah, that's also important. And just other thing, just like try to spend some time to read. Yeah, because I found like now with the social media, with iPhone, like our time is very fragmented. Right?
Yes,
So
correct.
people don't really read like a book.
We're really distracted all the time.
Right.
With
So I
this.
think that is still important, especially for like pursuing academic
Mm.
work. Right? You have to read a paper. In the business, a lot of papers are like 30 pages long, right? So you
Yes.
have to read that because now we're so used to read like the short articles
Yes,
from the
correct.
online media.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's all. It was really insightful
Thank you,
talking
yes.
with you, Professor. I guess we can finish our interview today. So
Sure.
thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I think it will be really helpful on those watching this video who might be still on the fence. Maybe on the fence, they are still doing their research, they're still doing their study, and then they still didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So this could be one thing that they can
Sure.
think about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for those are all like very good questions. Actually,
Yes.
those questions also helped me to think about what I've experienced myself.
Yeah,
so very good question. My pleasure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Chen. Hope to see you again
Sure.
in the near future in another circumstances.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank